This session is a nice shoulder and back stretching session. So we're going to hold some of the positions for a few seconds. We're going to add some movement in there as well. So let's get going. So we're going to start off by rolling our shoulders out, and we're going to create some nice big circles as we do so. So in your own time tempo, I suggest you do it relatively slowly. We're just going to do maybe 3 nice big circles. And then once we've done 3 one way, we're going to do them the other way. Try and exaggerate the movement as you go. And then once you're finished, just relax those shoulders. So depress them down for 3, for 2, for 1. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our shoulders up towards our ears, really elevate them for 3, losing our neck for 2, for 1, dropping our shoulders all the way down the side of our torso. Imagine we've got a set of bricks on either shoulder, really driving them down. As we drive them down, you'll naturally feel your shoulder blades come in slightly, the bottom's coming in slightly together for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. From here, we're just going to take our hands up towards the ceiling, and we're going to try really hard to get our arms either side of our ears in a nice long line. You might find that this is really hard. If you find this position really hard, it might be due to having a tight lat or some tight lats here. So it's always worth getting a roller out. If you know that you find this position quite challenging, could of course be down to some other reasons, but it might be worth trying the lat roll first. So reaching up nice and tall, and then if you can, bringing those hands in together above your head. If that's not going to be for you today, keep them nice and wide, as if you're in a nice overhead bar position or squat position. For 3, for 2, for 1, dropping your right hand down towards the mat, reaching that left hand up, so reaching all the way through the side of the body, and then hinging towards the side of the room, keeping your head nice and neutral. If you'd like to add a little bit more to this, take your gaze up towards the ceiling, but keep that arm nice and fixed above your head. Feel a nice stretch all the way down the side of the torso, the lats, the intercostal muscles, all the way down to the hips and the oblique area. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly coming up to vertical. Bring your right hand to meet your left hand, maybe touching them together if you can, keeping those ribs tucked in. Left hand towards the mat, reaching up nice and tall, and then when you're ready, hinging over towards one side or the other side. So for me, it's the left side. Again, holding this position for 3, maybe take your gaze up towards the ceiling. For 2, for 1, slowly coming up with control. Left hand to meet your right hand, bring them together into prayer, and then slowly keep your elbows nice and tall and your forearms, oh sorry, not your forearms, your humerus nice and long up towards the ceiling. Try and take those hands back behind your head, keeping those elbows nice and narrow. You might need to open them up a little bit, but if you can, you're going to be squeezing your head with those arms, taking those hands back. Keep that rib cage tucked in, so try not to overextend in the spine. If you've noticed yourself doing it, it's really easy to do it. Just come back. For 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly bring those hands up and then over, dropping those shoulders down. Coming into a nice all-four position. Just coming through a few cat-cows, just to get a bit of mobilization going there. So coming into all-four position. Knees below the hips, elbows over the wrists. And as you inhale, lifting that tailbone, lifting that head up towards the ceiling for 3, for 2, for 1. Actively pushing through your hands and your fingers here, pushing away from the floor, rounding the back, rounding the tailbone, keeping those tops of the feet into the mat for 2, for 1. Transitioning through as you inhale. And as you exhale, pushing back through the mat, really trying to get that movement through the shoulder area for 3, for 2, for 1. Last set. Transitioning. Extended back, tailbone up towards the ceiling, head up towards the ceiling, and then slowly transitioning through, really working on that shoulder area for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly sitting back onto your heels if you can, walking those hands forward in front of you and then driving your chest down towards the mat. You might want to take those knees nice and wide if you're finding it quite hard to get your torso down as close as you can. Maybe take your head towards the floor and then just slowly add a little bit of pressure here. So drive your armpits into the mat and you'll feel it over the top of your shoulder area, your biceps, your deltoids, maybe even down the side of your body, so your lat area underneath the armpit for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly coming up, bring your head up, bring your knees to hip width apart, moving those hands forwards and then coming into a deeper position. This is really going to stretch that shoulder area. If this becomes too much, just bend those elbows, drive that chin down towards the floor. If that's too much, just drop the forehead onto the floor. I'm feeling a stretch all the way through. Again, the top of that shoulder area and the bottom of sort of underneath your armpits for 3, for 2, for 1. Taking those hands to shoulder width apart into a nice all 4 position, and then coming through, taking your left hand underneath your right armpit and just hanging out and thread the needle. You can play around with this hand on the floor, so the left arm and shoulder that's on the floor, play around with rotating that palm down towards the floor or up towards the ceiling, just working on that rotation there. Maybe pushing your right hand into the mat and then opening up your chest a bit more towards the ceiling, working on the thoracic area of spine. For 3, keep breathing. For 2, for 1, slowly coming back to all fours, nice and controlled, and then switching over. So taking your right hand underneath that left armpit. Again, just playing around with your hand position, allowing it to face down towards the floor or up towards the ceiling. And then maybe taking this left hand, pressing into the mat, and then taking your gaze up towards the ceiling if you'd like to add a little bit more of a stretch onto here. For 3, keep breathing. For 2, for 1, good. Slowly transitioning through into a nice all fours position and then lowering yourself to the mat. So you can either stay on your knees or you can push onto your toes, creating this nice hollow rock position, really pushing through those hands, rounding the top of the back, engaging through those legs and that core. And then if you're in the same position as me, slowly lower yourself down to the mat, keeping your elbows nice and close, maybe hovering off the mat just briefly for 3, for 2, for 1. If you're on your knees, just do the same, but from that position, and then release your body towards the floor. Taking both your hands out at 90 degrees to your body, and then slowly rolling onto the left-hand side of your body, keeping that arm out at 90 degrees to your body, feeling a nice pull across the pecs, but also the inside of the shoulder area for 3, for 2, for 1, switching over. Right hand out, and then moving on to the right hand side of your body for 3, for 2, for 1. Good. Slowly coming back onto your tummy. And this time we're going to take our left hand underneath the front of our body, and we're going to slowly weight bear with our right hand out in front of us, down. So we're stretching across the back of that arm for 3, for 2, for 1. Switching over, left hand out in front of me, right hand diving in underneath. Trying to drive my left armpit down towards the floor for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly coming out. Walking those hands up, coming back into a nice all 4 position. Facing towards the side of the room. So taking both your hands out in front of you, driving your right hand underneath your left hand, linking just before you get to the elbow, bending both elbows and trying to bring both your palms in together. If this is neon impossible for you, don't worry, just bring both your forearms together with your palms together and lift those elbows. So in this position, we're going to lift the elbows. We're going to lift them up nice and tall. Feel a nice stretch across the top of the back for 3, for 2, for 1. Here we're just going to hinge down towards the right hand side of the room, and then when we get as far as we can get, we're slowly going to come up with control and then switch sides for 3, 2, 1. Back up. Rolling, unlinking those hands, rolling those shoulders, taking those hands behind the body. So linking one hand or one wrist, or if that's too much, holding on to the top or your little fingers, however you can get those arms behind you. Straighten those arms and then just lift them up as much as you can. If you'd like to take your torso over towards the mat, do so. Just watch that neck for 3, for 2, for 1. Slowly coming up. Switching arms, so releasing out of that, we're going to take our left arm underneath our right arm now, link through, lift those elbows, feel that pull in the top of the back. For 3, lifting up those elbows. If you're just bringing those forearms together, that's fine too. For 2, for 1, hinging over towards the left-hand side first. When we can't go any further, we're going to slowly come up with control, trying to make the movement coming from our torso rather than our hips, and then over towards the other side of the room. When you've got back up to vertical, slowly release those shoulders, roll those shoulders, and then link your hands the opposite way from what you just did. So again, we're going to do the same. We're either just going to lift here, feeling the pull on the arms, or you can pull up as you drop your torso and your head down towards the mat. For 3, try and keep those arms nice and long. For 2, for 1, slowly coming up, rolling those shoulders, and just finishing off with a little bit of an upper trap stretch. So I'm taking my left hand to my left shoulder, taking my right hand over the back left hand side of my head, and I'm just going to take my gaze down towards my right knee and just gently apply a little bit of pressure, feeling a nice pull around my left shoulder blade. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly releasing. Other side, so right hand on right shoulder, or as close to, lifting that elbow if I can. Left hand over the back, right hand side of the head, drawing my gaze down towards my left knee. For 3, for 2, for 1, slowly releasing, coming up, relaxing out of that position, rolling those shoulders. Thank you so much. I hope you feel a little bit more, I suppose, relaxed in that area. It's really good if you hold tension up here. So if you had a pretty stressful day, or you've been doing a lot of shoulder work, or you've been doing a lot of running, or any exercise that involves you, or in that you tend to sort of get some tightness around the top area of the shoulders and the back. I hope to see you on my next session. Thank you so much. Bye.